Imagine a single idea that can build an empire, but also has a built-in self-destruct button. An idea that, for, get this, 3,000 years gave rulers their power, but also gave the people the right to rip it away. That's what we're talking about today, the mandate of heaven.
I mean, think about it. It's a huge question, right? How do you justify a full-blown revolution? When a ruler just goes completely off the rails, what gives you the right to overthrow them? Well, about 3,000 years ago, the Zhou people in ancient China didn't just find an answer. They came up with a political philosophy that would literally shape their world for millennia.
All right, so let's dive into their radical new idea. This wasn't just about politics, it was about the cosmos. The Zhou came up with something that totally reframed how you think about the ruler, the people, and, well, the entire universe.
The heart of this whole thing is the concept of heaven, or Tian. Now, don't think of angels and fluffy clouds. This is more like the universe's moral compass, a cosmic force that wants order and justice. And this force grants a mandate, basically the right to rule. But, and this is the most important part, it is not a blank check.
And this is what made the whole idea so incredibly revolutionary. You know, over in Europe, you had the divine right of kings, which basically meant the king got his power from God, end of story. Rebelling against him was like rebelling against God himself, a major sin. The mandate of heaven? Totally different. It was a cosmic contract. A ruler had to actually earn their power by being a good, just leader. If they failed, well, heaven would pull its support. And suddenly, rebellion wasn't a crime, it was a moral duty.
So, why did they need such a radical idea in the first place? Well, because every good revolution needs a villain. And for the Zhou, that villain was the dynasty they were trying to overthrow, the Shang.
Okay, so we have to remember something really important here. History is written by the winners, right? And in the story the Zhou told, the final Shang king was the ultimate textbook tyrant. They painted this picture of a cruel, decadent ruler who just sat in his palace, ignored his duties, and bled his people dry. For the Zhou, this wasn't just bad leadership, it was a sign of a deep cosmic imbalance. The king had clearly lost the favor of heaven.
And so, enter the Zhou. But these guys weren't just some scrappy, opportunistic rebels. Oh no. They were an ambitious people out on the western frontier, and they had a super meticulous, multi-generational plan to take what they believed was rightfully theirs.
You see, the Zhou looked at the Shang leadership and just saw weakness and corruption. So they didn't just think, hey, we deserve to be in charge. They saw it as their actual moral duty to seize power and restore some kind of decent government to the land.
And man, were they patient. This was not a sudden uprising. We're talking about a plan that unfolded over 3 generations. First, they strategically moved their people from the edges closer to the Shang heartland. Then, they started building this powerful coalition, uniting other unhappy groups against the Shang. And finally, their leader King Wen put together the final blueprint for the conquest.
So you have generations of careful planning, of building alliances, of moving all the pieces on the board. And it's all about to come down to one single decisive moment. We're talking about one of the most pivotal battles in all of Chinese history. And it's pretty incredible, but thanks to modern science, specifically paleoastronomy, which is where they match ancient records of things like eclipses to historical events, we can actually pinpoint this world-changing fight to right around the year 1045 BCE. How cool is that?
So, on the eve of the battle, King Wu, who was King Wen's son, gets up in front of his troops. And he doesn't give some speech about glory or riches, no. He frames the entire war as a sacred duty. He basically tells them, look, we're not here because I'm on some power trip. We're here because heaven has taken its mandate away from the Shang, and it's our job to finish what it started.
And the battle that followed was just unbelievably brutal. Ancient texts describe the scene in the Shang capital with this one really graphic image saying the blood flowed so deeply the blocks of wood floated in it. I mean, wow. That really gives you a sense of the sheer violence of this power shift.
Now, even though King Wu was the leader, you could argue that the real key figure here was his uncle, the Duke of Zhou. He was this incredibly wise advisor and regent. But here's the crucial part. He never, ever tried to grab the throne for himself. Because of that, he became the ultimate model for the virtuous, loyal advisor in Chinese political history for centuries to come.
Okay, but winning the war? That was just step one. Now, the Zhou had to actually prove they deserved the mandate, and they were going to do that by building an entirely new political and really a cosmological order from the ground up. And their proof was literally built in stone and wood. They designed their new capital city to be a map of the universe. I mean, think about this. It was laid out on a perfect north-south axis. The ruler's palace was in the north, symbolizing its connection to the pole star, the one fixed point in the heavens. It was a physical, architectural statement that their rule was in perfect alignment with the natural order of the cosmos.
And this whole idea of cosmic alignment led to this incredibly powerful political concept. Because if your authority comes directly from heaven, and heaven covers everything, well then your rightful domain is what they called Tianxia, literally all under heaven. It's the ultimate justification for building a universal empire, right?
So we've seen how it started, but what was the long-term legacy of this idea that was forged in conquest? Well, its true genius was in its powerful simplicity and just how adaptable it turned out to be. What the doctrine created was this perfect, self-validating loop. Think about it. Did you just succeed in overthrowing the old dynasty? Well, there's your proof. You obviously had the mandate of heaven. Did you try and fail? Well, clearly you didn't have it. It's a brilliant, almost ruthlessly pragmatic way to explain and legitimize the transfer of power.
And this idea became the fundamental explanation for political change in China for the next 3,000 years. Seriously, every single time a dynasty fell and a new one rose, it was explained through this exact same powerful lens. The old guys got corrupt, they lost the mandate, and a new, more virtuous power was granted that mandate by heaven. Lather, rinse, repeat.
And all of this leaves us with a pretty deep and fascinating question, doesn't it? What happens to the political soul of a nation when its founding principle, its core belief, is that all power is temporary? The idea that no ruler is absolute, no dynasty lasts forever, and that all authority is, in the end, conditional. It suggests that at the very heart of power, there has to be a responsibility to the people and to the cosmos itself. A pretty powerful legacy, to say the least.